Amara, please understand. We have no choice." Her father's voice cracked as he spoke. The 14-year-old girl stared at him, her eyes filling with tears. "Papa, I'm still in school. I want to finish. I want to become a teacher." Her mother turned away, unable to look at her daughter. "The debt collectors are coming tomorrow," her father said quietly. "If we don't pay, they will take everything, our land, our house, everything." "But, Papa," Amara whispered, "he's so old." "Chief Okonkwo is a good man," her father said, though his voice betrayed his doubt. "He has promised to cancel our debt if you marry him. He will take care of you." Amara was the brightest girl in her village school. Teachers loved her. Her notebooks were always neat, her handwriting perfect. She dreamed of going to the city for secondary school, of wearing a uniform and carrying textbooks under her arm. But dreams don't feed hungry bellies, and her family had been sinking deeper into poverty for 3 years. It started when her father borrowed money to buy seeds for planting. Then the rains didn't come. The crops failed. He borrowed more to feed the family, then more to pay the first debt. Now they owed Chief Okonkwo more money than they could ever repay. And the chief had made his offer: cancel the debt in exchange for their daughter. That night, Amara sat outside their small mud house, staring at the stars. Her younger brother, Chidi, sat beside her. "Are you really going to marry the chief?" he asked. Amara didn't answer immediately. The chief was 72 years old. His back was bent. His teeth were few. He had buried 3 wives already. Some people whispered that he was cruel to them. Others said he was just unlucky. "I don't want to," she finally said. "But if I don't, where will you sleep? Where will Mama and Papa go?" Chidi grabbed her hand. "It's not fair." "Life isn't fair, little brother." Amara wiped her tears. "Tomorrow, I become a wife. Tonight, I'm still a girl. Let me have tonight."
The next morning came too quickly. Women from the chief's compound arrived at dawn. They brought wrappers, beads, and a small mirror. They bathed Amara, oiled her skin, and dressed her in colors too bright for her mood. Her mother wept quietly in the corner. "Stop crying," one of the women said sharply. "Your daughter is lucky. The chief chose her. Many girls would be grateful." "Grateful," Amara's mother whispered. "She's a child." "She was a child," the woman corrected. "Today, she becomes a wife. That's how it works." Amara sat silently as they braided her hair. Her hands were cold. Her stomach was empty. She had refused to eat. The women painted her lips with palm oil mixed with red clay. They hung beads around her neck and wrists. When they finished, they stepped back to admire their work. "Beautiful," one said. "The chief will be pleased." There was no wedding ceremony, no music, no dancing, just a quiet exchange. Amara's father handed over a small bag containing the debt papers. The chief's assistant handed over a receipt. Debt cleared, transaction complete. Amara stood between them like a goat at the market. The chief looked at her and smiled, showing his brown, broken teeth. "You will make a good wife," he said. "Come." Amara looked back at her family one last time. Her mother was sobbing into her wrapper. Her father couldn't meet her eyes. Chidi was trying to be brave, but tears ran down his cheeks. She wanted to run to them, to beg them to change their minds. But her feet moved forward, following the chief. She was no longer their daughter. She belonged to him now. The chief's compound was large but cold. 3 separate huts stood in a half circle. "This was yours," the chief said, pointing to the smallest one. "My 3rd wife lived here before the fever took her." Amara stepped inside. It smelled of old smoke and loneliness. A thin mat lay on the floor. A cracked pot sat in the corner. One window, no curtain. "This is my home now?" she asked quietly. The chief grunted. "You're lucky to have a roof. My first wife had nothing when I married her. She learned to be grateful. You will too." That night, Amara lay on the mat, staring at the ceiling. She could hear the chief snoring in the main hut. She pulled her knees to her chest and cried silently, her body shaking. Outside, an owl hooted. Inside, a girl's childhood ended.
The next morning, the chief's first wife, Mama Nkem, came to wake her. "Get up," she said, shaking Amara's shoulder. "There's work to do." Amara sat up, her eyes swollen from crying. Mama Nkem looked at her without sympathy. "I know you're young," she said flatly, "but this is your life now. The sooner you accept it, the easier it will be." Amara followed her outside. Mama Nkem showed her where to fetch water, where to cook, where to wash the chief's clothes. "He likes his food hot, his water cold, and his compound clean," Mama Nkem said. "Do what he says. Don't talk back. Don't cry in front of him. He hates weakness." "What if I can't?" Amara whispered. Mama Nkem's face hardened. "Then you'll learn the hard way, just like I did." She rolled up her sleeve, revealing old scars on her arm. "Life doesn't care what you want, girl. It only cares what you survive." Days turned into weeks. Amara's hands became rough from scrubbing pots. Her back ached from carrying water. She woke before the sun and slept long after it set. The chief rarely spoke to her except to give orders. "Bring my food, wash my feet, sweep the compound." At night, he would call her to his hut. She learned to disappear inside herself during those moments, to think of the river near her old home, to imagine her brother's laughter, to remember her mother's lullabies, anything to not be present in her own body. One evening, as she swept outside, a girl her age passed by. The girl was laughing, carrying school books under her arm. Amara watched her until she disappeared down the path. That could have been me, she thought. That should have been me. But not everything was dark. Mama Nkem, though harsh, began to teach her small things. How to make the chief's favorite soup, which herbs to use for headaches, how to hide a little food for herself when he wasn't looking. "Why are you helping me?" Amara asked one afternoon. Mama Nkem stirred the pot without looking up. "Because I was you once," she said quietly. 16 years old. Sold to clear my father's gambling debt. I wanted to die the first month, but I didn't, and neither will you." She finally looked at Amara. "We survive, girl. That's what women like us do. We survive until we find a way to live." Amara didn't understand then, but those words would stay with her.
Months passed. Amara's body began to change. Her stomach grew round. She was pregnant. The chief was pleased. "Finally," he said, slapping his knee, "a son! You will give me a son!" Amara felt nothing. No joy, no fear, just emptiness. Mama Nkem noticed her blank stare. "Don't lose yourself completely," she whispered when they were alone. "Keep something inside that's still yours, something he can't touch." "Like what?" Amara asked. Mama Nkem thought for a moment. "Your dreams, your voice, your name. Remember who you were before this. Don't let him erase you." That night, Amara whispered her own name in the dark. Amara, Amara, Amara. Like a prayer, like a promise. She placed her hand on her belly. This child would grow up in this compound. But maybe, just maybe, this child could have the life she lost. The pregnancy was difficult. Amara was young, her body not ready. She grew weak. The village midwife came to check on her and shook her head. "This girl is too young," she told the chief. "She needs rest, good food, and no heavy work." The chief waved his hand dismissively. "Women have been having babies since the beginning of time. She'll be fine." But Amara wasn't fine. One morning she collapsed while fetching water. Mama Nkem found her lying by the well, unconscious. She carried her back to the hut
and nursed her with herbs and prayers. When Amara woke, Mama Nkem was sitting beside her. "You almost left us," she said softly. "Part of me wanted to," Amara admitted. "I know," Mama Nkem said, "but you're stronger than you think, and that baby inside you needs you to be strong." As Amara's belly grew, something else grew inside her too. Not love for the chief, never that, but a fierce protectiveness for her unborn child. She began to eat more, to rest when she could. She started planning. If it's a girl, she thought, I'll teach her to read. I'll save money somehow. I'll send her to school. She won't end up like me. If it's a boy, I'll teach him to be gentle, to respect women, to never treat his wife the way the chief treats us. These thoughts kept her going through the pain, through the loneliness, through the long nights. One evening, she felt the baby kick for the first time. She gasped and placed both hands on her stomach. Mama Nkem smiled. "That's life, girl. That's hope. Hold on to it."
When Amara's time came, it was in the middle of the night. The pain woke her suddenly, sharp and fierce. She cried out. Mama Nkem rushed to her side. "It's time," she said. "I'll get the midwife." The labor lasted through the night and into the next day. Amara screamed. She wept. She begged for it to end. The midwife worked quickly, her face serious. "Push, girl, push!" Just when Amara thought she couldn't take any more, she heard it. A baby's cry, loud and strong. "It's a girl," the midwife announced. Amara's heart sank. Not because she didn't want a daughter, but because she knew what life had in store for girls. The chief would be disappointed. He wanted a son. But when they placed the tiny baby in her arms, something shifted inside Amara. The baby opened her eyes and looked at her mother. In that moment, Amara made a silent vow. "You will not live my life. I will make sure of it." The chief was indeed disappointed. "A girl," he muttered when he came to see. "Useless. Try again soon." But Amara barely heard him. She was lost in her daughter's face. She named her Adana, meaning father's daughter, though she thought of it differently. My daughter. Mine. Mama Nkem helped her learn to care for the baby, how to nurse, how to burp, how to soothe her cries. "You're a natural," Mama Nkem said, watching Amara rock the baby gently. "You'll be a good mother, better than I ever was." Amara looked up. "You have children?" Mama Nkem's face darkened. "I had 3. 2 died young. The fever. One son survived. He lives in the city now. Never visits, doesn't even send word. That's what I get for surviving." "I'm sorry," Amara whispered. Mama Nkem shrugged. "That's life. We give everything. They move on. But maybe your daughter will be different." As Adana grew, so did Amara's determination. She started saving small amounts of money. A few coins here, a bit of food sold at the market there. She hid everything in a small cloth bag buried under her mat. The chief never noticed. He was too busy with his palm wine and his friends. One day, a teacher from the village school passed by the compound. Amara rushed to her. "Please," she said quietly, "when my daughter is old enough, can she come to school?" The teacher looked at the young mother with sad eyes. "Does the chief allow it?" "He won't know," Amara said fiercely. "I'll find a way." The teacher studied her for a moment, then nodded. "When she's ready, bring her. I'll teach her." Amara's heart soared. It was the first real hope she had felt in years.
But hope is a fragile thing. One evening, the chief's nephew came to visit. He was young, loud, and drunk. He saw Amara and grinned. "Uncle," he called out, "you have good taste. This one is beautiful." The chief laughed. "Too young when I got her, but she's growing into something fine." The nephew moved closer to Amara. She stepped back, holding Adana tight. "Maybe when you're done with her, uncle, you can pass her to me." The men laughed. Amara felt sick. She hurried to her hut and locked the door. Mama Nkem came to check on her later.
Don't let them see your fear, she said. Men like that feed on it. But I am afraid, Amara whispered. I know, Mama Enkem said, but fear can also make you smart, make you careful, make you plan your escape. Escape? The word hung in the air. Is it possible? Amara asked. Mama Enkem looked at her seriously. I don't know. I never tried. I was too afraid, too broken. But you're different. You still have fire in your eyes. Where would I go? Amara asked. What would I do? Mama Enkem thought for a moment. There's a women's shelter in the next town, run by missionaries. They help women like us, women who've run from bad marriages. But it's dangerous. If the chief finds you, he'll bring you back, and it will be worse. Amara looked down at her sleeping daughter. I'll wait, she said, until I have enough money, until Adana is a little older, until I'm strong enough. Mama Enkem nodded. Then we plan, carefully. Over the next 2 years, Amara worked in secret. She learned to read by borrowing books from the village teacher. She practiced at night by candlelight while the chief slept. She taught herself to count money properly. She sold vegetables at the market and saved every coin. She made friends with women who'd escaped bad situations. She learned where to go, who to trust. Adana grew into a bright, curious toddler. Amara told her stories every night. Stories of brave girls who escaped danger. Stories of women who built new lives. Planting seeds, Mama Enkem said, watching them. Seeds of rebellion. Amara smiled. Seeds of freedom. The chief noticed nothing. To him, Amara was just another wife. Quiet, obedient, useful. He had no idea she was planning to disappear.
One night, everything changed. The chief came home drunk and angry. He'd lost money gambling. He looked for someone to blame. Amara was cooking dinner when he stormed in. "This food is cold," he shouted, though it wasn't. "I just made it," she said quietly. "Are you talking back to me?" He grabbed her arm roughly. Adana started crying. "Let me go," Amara said, trying to pull away. The chief raised his hand to strike her, but something in Amara snapped. She dodged and pushed him hard. He stumbled backward, surprised. His eyes turned dark with rage. "You dare fight me?" In this moment, Amara knew. If she stayed, he would hurt her, maybe kill her. She grabbed Adana and ran. Mama Enkem appeared in the doorway. "Go," she said urgently. "I'll slow him down. Go now." Amara ran through the compound, through the gate, into the dark night. Adana clung to her neck, crying. Behind her, she heard the chief shouting, heard him calling for his guards. She ran faster, her heart pounding. Her cloth bag with money bounced against her hip. She'd been planning this for months, but not like this, not tonight, not unprepared. She reached the main road and looked both ways. Which direction? She heard footsteps behind her. Then, a miracle! A truck slowed down. The driver was a woman. "Get in," the woman said quickly. "I know who you're running from." Amara didn't hesitate. She jumped into the truck with Adana. The woman drove fast, heading toward the next town. In the back seat, Amara finally let herself cry. The woman's name was Sister Mary. She ran the women's shelter Mama Enkem had told Amara about. "You're safe now," Sister Mary said as they drove. "He can't touch you here." "But he'll look for me," Amara said, her voice shaking. "Let him look. We've dealt with men like him before. The law protects you now. You were forced into marriage as a child. That's illegal." "But my family's debt." "The debt died the moment he broke the law," Sister Mary said firmly. "You owe him nothing." At the shelter, Amara met other women, women who'd run from husbands, women who'd been beaten, starved, or sold, women who were rebuilding their lives. For the first time in years, Amara didn't feel alone. That night, she and Adana slept on a real bed. Clean sheets, a locked door, safety. Amara wept with relief.
The next few months were hard, but hopeful. The shelter provided food, clothes, and safety. A lawyer came to help Amara. "Your marriage is not legal," the lawyer explained. "You were underage. You were coerced. We can annul it. The chief will be arrested for child marriage and abuse." Amara could barely believe it. "Really? Really?" the lawyer said with a kind smile. "You're free." Amara started classes at the shelter, reading, writing, basic math, things she should have learned in school. She was a quick learner. The teachers were impressed. She also started working. Small jobs, cleaning, cooking, helping in the shelter kitchen. She saved every coin. Adana was enrolled in a small preschool nearby. She loved it. "Mama, I learned numbers today," she would say excitedly. Amara's heart would swell with pride. Her daughter would have the education she never got. 1 year later, Amara stood in front of a small shop. Her shop. She'd saved enough money to rent it. It was tiny, just enough space for a table, some goods, and a dream. She sold vegetables, rice, soap, anything people needed. Business was slow at first, but Amara was patient. She remembered Mama and Kem's words, "We survive until we find a way to live." Now she was living, truly living. Adana started primary school. She wore a uniform, carried books, came home with homework. Everything Amara had dreamed of. One evening, a familiar face appeared at the shop. Mama and Kim. She looked older, more tired. "You left," she said quietly. "I had to," Amara replied. "I know," Mama and Kim said. "I'm proud of you." Amara hugged her tight. "Thank you for teaching me to survive, to hope." Mama and Kim smiled. "You taught yourself, girl. I just reminded you who you were." More time passed. Amara's shop grew. She hired 2 women from the shelter to help her. She became known in the community as someone who helped struggling women. If you need work, see Amara. If you need advice, see Amara. If you're running, see Amara. She never forgot where she came from. Adana grew into a smart, confident girl. She was top of her class. She asked questions. She challenged answers. She was fearless. One day, she came home with an essay assignment. "Write about your hero." Adana showed it to her mother. "I'm writing about you, Mama." Amara's eyes filled with tears. "I'm no hero, sweetheart." "Yes, you are," Adana said seriously. "You saved us. You saved yourself. That makes you my hero."
The interview was published. Amara's story reached national news. People were shocked, inspired, angry. The government started investigating child marriages more seriously. New laws were passed. Amara was invited to speak at schools, churches, and community halls. At first, she was nervous, but when she stood in front of young girls and saw their faces, the words came easily. "You are not property," she told them. "You are not a debt payment. You are human beings with rights, with dreams, with value. If anyone tries to take that from you, fight, run, scream, ask for help, and know that there are people like me who will catch you when you fall." The girls listened, some crying, some nodding, all inspired. Teachers thanked her. Parents hugged her. Young women told her she'd changed their lives. Back at home, Adana prepared for university exams. She'd been accepted to study law. "Mama," she said one evening, "I want to specialize in women's rights." "Like you?" Amara asked. "Because of you," Adana corrected. "You showed me what real strength looks like." Amara hugged her daughter tight. "I'm so proud of you. But remember, you don't have to carry my burden. Live your own life. Make your own dreams." "I am living my own life," Adana said, "but I choose to use it to help others, just like you taught me." That night, Amara reflected on how far they'd come. From a 14-year-old girl sold to a chief to a successful businesswoman and activist. From a child bride to a mother raising a future lawyer. From victim to victor. The journey had been long and painful, but they'd made it. 1 year later, Amara attended Adana's university graduation. Her daughter stood on stage, receiving her law degree. Summa cum laude, top of her class. As Adana gave her valedictorian speech, she looked directly at her mother. "This degree isn't just mine," she said to the crowd. "It belongs to every girl who was told she wasn't worth educating. Every woman who was forced into marriage. Every mother who sacrificed everything for her children. This is for you, especially you, Mama." Amara wept openly. Around her, people stood and applauded. After the ceremony, mother and daughter embraced. "We did it," Adana whispered. "We really did it." "We did," Amara said, "but this is just the beginning. For both of us." They walked out of the auditorium together. 2 generations of strength, 2 survivors, 2 warriors. The future was bright, and it was theirs.
Amara and Adana opened a legal clinic together. Free services for women and girls in crisis. The clinic was always full. Women came from far and wide, some beaten, some pregnant, some running, some just needing someone to believe them. Amara handled the counseling and shelter coordination. Adana handled the legal cases. They were an unstoppable team. One day, Mama Enkem visited. She was much older now, walking with a cane. She looked around the clinic in wonder. "You did all this?" she asked Amara. "We did," Amara said, hugging her. "You helped plant the seed, remember?" Mama Enkem smiled. "I'm glad I lived to see it bloom." Before she left, she pulled Amara aside. "Thank you for proving it's possible to escape, to heal, to win. You gave an old woman hope." Amara squeezed her hand. "And you gave a young girl the will to survive. We're even." Years passed. Amara's hair started to gray. Her shop had become a chain. Her clinic had opened 3 branches. Adana had become one of the country's top human rights lawyers. Together, they'd helped hundreds of women and girls escape forced marriages. They'd put dozens of men in prison. They'd changed laws. They'd saved lives. One evening, Amara sat on her porch, watching the sunset. She thought about the chief, long dead and forgotten. She thought about her parents. They'd apologized years ago. She'd forgiven them. Poverty makes people do terrible things. She thought about the 14-year-old girl she used to be, scared, helpless, trapped. If she could go back and tell that girl one thing, what would it be? She smiled. She'd tell her, "Hold on, it gets better. The pain doesn't last forever. You're stronger than you know. And one day, you'll be free." The documentary about Amara's life premiered at a film festival. Cameras followed her journey from childhood to activism. Interviews with people she'd helped, scenes from the clinic, footage of Adana in court. The theater was packed. When the lights came up, there was a standing ovation. Amara stood on stage, overwhelmed. "Thank you," she said into the microphone. "But this story isn't just about me. It's about every girl who was told she had no value, every woman who was treated like property, every survivor who refused to stay silent. This is our story, and it's not over. As long as one girl is being forced into marriage, as long as one woman is being abused, as long as one child is being sold, the fight continues, and we will continue with it." The applause was deafening. In the front row, Adana cried with pride. This was her mother, her hero. On Amara's 50th birthday, the community threw her a celebration. Hundreds of people came. Women she'd helped, girls she'd saved, lawyers she'd worked with, journalists who'd told her story, politicians who'd passed new laws because of her advocacy. They gave speeches, shared testimonies, presented awards. Through it all, Amara sat quietly, overwhelmed by love.
When it was her turn to speak, she stood slowly. Her voice was soft but firm. "I was too young to be a wife," she began, "too poor to say no. But I learned something important. Poverty is not a life sentence, youth is not weakness, and saying no is always possible. It might take time, it might take courage you don't think you have, but it's always possible. To every girl listening, remember this: you are not what they say you are not what they make you. You are who you choose to become. Choose freedom, choose education, choose yourself." The celebration ended with dancing and music. Amara watched Adana laughing with friends, watched the women from her shelter chatting happily, watched the young girls running around free and safe. This is what victory looks like, she thought. Not revenge, not bitterness, just life. Full, beautiful, free life. Mama Enkem, very old now but still present, sat beside her. "You changed the world, girl," she said. "Not the whole world," Amara replied, "just our corner of it." "That's enough," Mama Enkem said. "That's more than enough." As the sun set, Amara closed her eyes and felt peace. The scared 14-year-old bride was gone. In her place stood a warrior, a survivor, a woman who'd turned her pain into purpose. Too young to be a wife? Maybe. Too poor to say no? Once. But not anymore. Never again. Now she was Amara, survivor, fighter, free.
Moral lesson: poverty should never be a reason to sacrifice a child's future. Every girl deserves education, safety, and the right to choose her own path. Child marriage is not tradition, it's abuse. And survivors are not broken. They are warriors who fought the hardest battles. Reflection questions. How can communities protect girls from forced marriages? What would you do if you knew a girl being forced to marry? Why do you think Amara succeeded when others might have given up? If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, and turn on the bell notification to be the first to be notified when we post a new story. Share this message, spread awareness. Together, we can end child marriage. Love you all.